The rain was merciless that night, slashing against the cracked windows of an old cafe at the edge of town. Inside, a woman sat alone at a corner table, her trembling hands wrapped around a half-empty cup of coffee gone cold long ago. Her reflection in the window showed tired eyes, streaks of silver hidden under dyed brown hair, and a faint smile that had forgotten how to stay. Her name was Lydia Moore, once a celebrated fashion designer. Now just another name time seemed to erase. Moments ago, the man she had loved for years had looked her in the eyes and said the words that shattered her world. "You're past your expiry date." Those words echoed in her mind like the cruel tick of a clock. She'd built her life around him, given up dreams, and now, at 41, she was left with nothing but fading memories and an aching heart. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of people who rise again after being broken, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us spread hope through stories that heal. That night, Lydia walked out into the cold with no umbrella, no destination, and no idea where to begin again. The city lights blurred through her tears as she passed shop windows filled with younger faces, flawless models, and glossy promises of youth and perfection. She used to belong in that world. Her designs once lit up New York's runways. But years of loving a man who told her she was too emotional, too old-fashioned, and too slow to adapt had dimmed her spark until she barely recognized herself. When she finally reached the subway, she noticed a man struggling with a small child near the stairs. The little girl's pink raincoat was torn, and her hair was plastered to her forehead with rain. The man, in his early 30s, was carrying a grocery bag that split open, scattering apples across the steps. Lydia instinctively bent down, gathering the apples before they rolled into the puddles. Their eyes met. His were tired, kind, and full of quiet gratitude. "Thank you," he murmured, trying to steady his daughter. Lydia nodded, unsure why the stranger's warmth hit her so deeply. The little girl looked up at her and smiled. A missing tooth and eyes so innocent they made Lydia's chest tighten. "I like your coat," the girl said softly. Lydia smiled for the first time in days. "I made it myself," she replied, brushing off the rain. The man looked surprised. "You sew?" he asked. "Used to," she said quietly, not wanting to explain the whole story of a life that once sparkled and then faded. That was how Lydia met Ethan, a single father raising his 6-year-old daughter Maya after losing his wife to cancer 2 years earlier. He worked as a janitor at a nearby school, barely earning enough to survive, but his heart carried a strength that few people possessed. There was a gentleness in how he tied Maya's shoes, how he always knelt down to her level when speaking to her. Lydia found herself drawn to that small, quiet love, so different from the hollow flattery and cold ambition she had known before. Days turned into weeks, and Lydia found herself visiting the park where Ethan and Maya often played. Maya adored her immediately, calling her Miss Liddy. Sometimes Lydia would bring her sketchbook, drawing dresses and patterns as Maya watched in fascination. Ethan would sit nearby, reading from an old paperback, glancing up every so often with a smile that seemed to understand her silence. For the first time in years, Lydia began to feel again, something soft, alive, and frighteningly new. Yet her mind fought back, whispering cruel reminders. "You're too old for this. You're a failure. You're nothing but leftovers from your past." Those were the words her ex had planted deep inside her, and they echoed every time she saw her reflection. One cold afternoon, while sketching on a park bench, Maya tugged at Lydia's sleeve. "Miss Liddy, can you make me a dress like the one in your book?" Lydia laughed softly. "It's been a long time since I made anything, sweetie." Maya's face fell. "But you're magic. Daddy says some people forget they have magic until someone believes in them again." That sentence hit Lydia like lightning. Out of the mouths of children, truth often came like a whisper from heaven. That night, Lydia couldn't sleep. She pulled out her old sewing machine from the attic, brushed off the dust, and stared at it for a long time. Her fingers trembled as she threaded the needle. When the machine roared to life again after years of silence, tears filled her eyes. She worked through the night, her heart pouring into every stitch. The next weekend, she presented Maya with a soft pink dress, carefully hand-stitched with tiny embroidered daisies. Maya twirled in it, laughing, shouting, "Daddy, look! Miss Liddy made me a princess." Ethan's eyes shimmered. "It's beautiful," he said quietly, his gaze lingering on Lydia. "You're still incredible at what you do." For the first time in years, Lydia believed it. Over the next few months, Lydia began sewing again. First for Maya, then for her friends, then for other single parents in Ethan's community who couldn't afford nice clothes for their kids. Word spread. Lydia started a small home studio designing simple, elegant pieces from recycled fabric. She called her line Renewed Grace. But life wasn't without shadows. One evening, as she was closing her small stall at a weekend market, she heard a familiar voice. Her ex, Daniel, stood there, still polished and charming, surrounded by young models in designer coats. He looked at her table, then at her. "Lydia Moore," he smirked. "I didn't think you'd sink this low." Selling clothes at a market? His words were poison, but Lydia didn't flinch this time. She smiled gently. "Yes," she said, "and every dress here carries more love than your entire brand." He scoffed. "Still sentimental. That's why you failed, Lydia. You should have known when your expiry date came." Before she could respond, Ethan appeared beside her, holding Maya's hand. "She hasn't expired," he said firmly. "She just outgrew people like you." The crowd nearby went silent, and Daniel's smirk vanished. Lydia felt a rush of emotion she couldn't describe. For years she had fought her battles alone, but this time someone stood beside her, not out of pity, but respect. That night, after the market closed, Ethan walked her home. They didn't talk much, just listened to the rain pattering softly on the pavement. When they reached her door, Lydia turned to him. "Thank you," she whispered, "for making me believe I still matter." Ethan smiled. "You never stopped mattering. You just needed someone to remind you." Months later, Lydia's designs were featured in a small fashion exhibition for independent creators. Her booth, decorated with delicate fabrics and soft lighting, attracted countless visitors. When a journalist asked what inspired her comeback, Lydia said simply, "I used to think beauty fades with age. Now I know. Grace only grows stronger." Ethan and Maya stood proudly in the front row as Lydia received a standing ovation. She wasn't the same woman who once cried in a cold cafe, haunted by cruel words. She was reborn, not because someone saved her, but because someone saw her value when she had forgotten it herself. As the lights dimmed that night, Lydia looked at the small family that had changed her life. Maya ran up to her, arms wide open, shouting, "Miss Liddy, you're famous!" Lydia laughed, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. Ethan looked at her, his eyes saying everything words couldn't. And in that moment, Lydia realized, some people aren't meant to fix you. They're meant to see you. And through their eyes, you learn how to love yourself again. If this story touched your heart, please don't leave without liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Your simple action helps us reach more hearts that need healing and hope. Special request: comment below. Everyone deserves a second chance. If you believe no one should ever be told they're past their expiry date. As Lydia stood on that small stage, with applause echoing around her, she closed her eyes and smiled. Her past had tried to define her, but love had redefined her instead. And somewhere in the audience, a little girl clapped her hands and shouted, "Miss Liddy, you're still magic!" And for the first time in forever, Lydia truly believed it.